What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I'm Tanner Staggs. I'm here with my brother Tyler Staggs. We're the host of the TTP. I want to let you know before we get into the show to make sure that you're with us on social media. The ones that we're most active on is Twitter, Titans_time. We're also on Facebook, Titans Time, and Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. Tyler, one last thing before we get started. Let them know what they can do to support the podcast.
Guys, obviously what you can do is whatever podcast platform you're listening on, go make sure you're subscribed. Leave us a 5-star rating and leave us some comments and some questions. For all the folks watching on YouTube, just scroll down a little bit. That little red subscribe button, make it gray. Turn on the post notifications so you never miss when we upload a video. Leave us a like on the video. Leave us some comments. We love seeing everyone's thoughts, their opinions on things, and, of course, sharing the video.
I wanted to start this show out just by saying that you have officially completed your creepy army of bobbleheads.
Shout out Russ Brewer, who listens to the podcast on YouTube. Thank you again for the Kevin Byard bobblehead.
Yeah, and thanks a lot, Russ, for finishing out the masterpiece of weird, creepy bobbleheads we got going on.
I thought about really messing with you when you got here today. I was going to take and have all of them looking directly at your seat, just staring at you.
Throughout the whole podcast. Yeah, every single one of them just looking at me.
All of them looking at you to see if you could keep your composure.
I wouldn't even be able to make it through the... I'm already looking at Y Check over the top of my computer screen.
That's why you were thrown off, and it took us like 6 tries to get the intro down to this.
So let's get into the show. There have been a couple of things this week that are pretty noteworthy to talk about. Number one, a video that you just showed me of Bud Dupree doing some different kind of workout.
Kind of like a
little more dynamic type looking.
Miniature squat box jump with weight.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to call it.
So he's got 2 boxes. For anyone that hasn't seen the video, he's got 2 boxes out to the side, and he's standing in the middle with a barbell on his shoulders, and he's squatting and then doing a squat jump, essentially, and landing with his feet out wider on the boxes, which are more elevated, and then he will squat again, jump, and land in the center.
And they're maybe...
They're not tall. They're not tall.
Maybe like 12 inches, something like that.
And so the significance of that, obviously, if you don't know what's been going on with Bud Dupree, is that he's had the ACL injury. And so pretty significant knee injury there.
Yep.
To be doing something like that, not that far out from. So obviously, the only thing that I'm like not 100% sold on with that deal is he's not going down far enough to actually stretch those tendons. So...
Are you sure?
He's not really like getting it. Okay, so like he's probably working them a little bit, but he's not really getting a full stretch on those tendons.
Yeah, but on a repaired ACL, you have to be. You still have to be pretty
wrong. It's showing that he has made significant strides towards being healthy, and is probably like 100% there, if not like high 90% healthy. But all I'm saying is, really, for that full stretch in the tendons there, the knee has really got to, it's got to be bent.
I don't know. The knee's looking pretty good to me.
No. But I'm not saying that the knee's not looking good. Don't take this as me like saying, well, Bud Dupree is...
I'm taking it that way.
Yeah, his knee's not good at all. But I'm just saying, it's not like he's going all... Like, it's impressive for what happened to him last season. But it's not like he's going all the way down with his foot still on the ground and like touching his knee to the floor or anything. He's not getting a full bend on that joint.
I mean, neither one of us have had an ACL injury, and neither one of us are doctors or physical therapists. So how do we really know if it's working that tendon or not with how far he's going? I mean, you're solely just basing it off of the fact that he is not going down far enough for you, and in your non-medical opinion,
take a simple YouTube search on how Tyreek Hill strengthens his ACLs and his tendons in his knees. Just after the show, do a simple YouTube search on how Tyreek Hill and other athletes also to strengthen those tendons and things. So anyways, I'd like to move on. And since you're coming at me, I want to actually come at you for a second. Because when we first started this last offseason, and it hasn't been as much here lately, but when we first started this last offseason, you, during the show, were always throwing out stats. And I would still say that you are a stat head in a way. And that you enjoy to look at stats and pull up the stats, compare stats between players, and use that as a gauge to look at effectiveness, productivity, all that type of stuff, and in a way gauge how well the player is helping out the team. You agree, right?
I agree.
So when I bring up the fact that it's significant that the Tennessee Titans, don't know if they've hired anybody yet, but the Tennessee Titans are looking for a data analyst that is literally going to take those numbers and look at them and tell the team what they say, basically, in a deeper meaning, and how they can use those numbers to make better decisions. I don't see how you can brush that off as insignificant.
I'm not really...
The Titans have posted, they have a job posting for a data analyst, which is, they're like way behind on that type of stuff. And you can blame Mike Vrabel if you want to, whoever you want, but they're way behind the rest of the league when it comes to looking at the data and making decisions based on that. And that's just one place that they have lacked for seasons. And I just think that it's great that they're not going to be as behind anymore as far as that goes.
Okay, so I see what you're doing here. I come at you a little bit. You didn't really have anything else to come at me with.
No. I had this in my mind. Listen. Seriously, I had this in my mind to say that to you before we even started the show.
Because before the show, we were talking about everything that we were going to cover on the show.
And I will say...
And I thought that this was something that we could probably go without mentioning because it's something that we think...
Because you think it's insignificant.
No. You know I'm a stats guy. But when it's something that come out like a week or two ago, we didn't cover it when it initially come out.
Because we were talking about Julio Jones.
Yeah, but now...
Julio Jones...
But now look...
Titans are hiring a data analyst. Like, that's under the table. Julio Jones is on... He's on the ceiling.
Yes, but look, the reason I was saying sweep it to the side right now is because we're trying to talk about current things going on, and now you're wanting to backtrack 2 weeks. You're asking... We're going back and forth on everything we can cover on the show. Oh, let's talk about this. This is current. This is current. This is current. All of a sudden, you just pull something out of your ass from 2 weeks ago.
No, I've been talking about this for weeks, ever since it came out. That this is
the first time that I'm hearing you mention it on the show.
That this is significant.
The first time you have mentioned it on the show.
So, anyways, I also would like to say and put out there that, well, actually, for one, I mean, I'm not a medical professional, and I really don't know even what that workout honestly is doing for him, Bud Dupree. But I will say that, I mean, it's kind of common sense that he's not fully utilizing his ACL up there. Like, it's not being fully stretched out.
Now we're back.
So, no, I'm just saying, I did want to put that out there, but by no means am I a medical professional. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. That's just my opinion on it.
I mean,
and so, there that is. But anyways, I think that the data analyst thing is extremely important, and I think that type of work in the NFL is something that a lot of people overlook, and then whenever there's a decision made on 4th down or a decision to make an onside kick, the decision on whether or not to kick a field goal, whatever it may be, who to play in a certain scenario, what play to go with on, a 3rd and short, people blame the head coach. Well, a lot of times that decision comes from a data analyst, not necessarily the head coach at all. And so these people are workers in the NFL that affect the gameplay in a way that a lot of people have no idea about, especially just the casual fan. So I think that's a huge thing that they're hiring somebody specifically for that role. I think it's going to put them offensively, especially, up there with a lot of other teams, especially in the AFC. One team that I wanted to mention was the Buffalo Bills, because they have been one of the best about it in the AFC, and that's why their offense last season other than the fact that they had Stephon Diggs, was so efficient because they were making the right decisions more often than any other team.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure if you go back and look at the Titans' offense the past couple of seasons, for the most part, they've been very efficient, even without.
Okay, but are we forgetting before Ryan Tannehill took over, when he did, that people were calling for Mike Vrabel's head for some of the terrible decisions that he was making?
People call for Mike Vrabel's head after a loss. So, I mean...
But that's what I'm saying. He was making those bad decisions so frequently at that point in time when Marcus Mariota was the quarterback. And I'm not saying there's any correlation there between him making those decisions.
I don't know.
But people were calling for his head. People did not like Mike Vrabel at all during that span of time. And there's still times where people question his decision-making. I think recently, and it does seem like there was kind of a turn that was made whenever Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback, even though there's obviously no correlation there. But I think his decisions have been so much better. And there might actually be a correlation there because of the fact that if you believe in your quarterback more and you've been seeing what he's doing on the field, then you are a little bit more free and open with your decisions because you believe in what your quarterback can do.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a correlation there because you can have a guy come in and just provide a team with a spark. And once you get that spark, the team takes off. And, you know, it's easy for when that guy comes in at, say, quarterback change. He provides that spark. Then maybe that quarterback brings something just a little bit different, or he does something a little bit better than the previous guy did. And you're able to adjust your offense to that. Like you said, you get more confidence in him. And you're able to keep the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah.
I do think having someone there that can dive deeper into the stats, into the percentages, everything, the more advanced stats, that is a benefit. Because then you have one person there who can break this down and really look at everything and come to you and tell you, hey, you know, this situation, we need to go for this. Or if they're maybe breaking down players, then maybe they can find something with that certain player that is overlooked and tell you, yeah, they can work out for this team, this system, or no, it's not going to work.
Right, or even something like, you know, this is something that's kind of been flying under the radar, something we haven't noticed, but, you know, so-and-so, Derrick Henry, on we don't know why, but in this specific situation, he's averaging this crazy amount of yards per carry. Don't know why, but this is the plays that we've been running in that situation. For some reason, it's working.
Right.
So, anyways, that's just the main thing that I think is so significant about it is there's in most cases I feel like there should be a team of maybe even 2 or 3 people, but now they have that person. I believe this is the first person that they've hired for a position like that.
Taking steps in the right direction to see if it's going to, I mean, really, it can be a trial run. Just see if it's actually going to work out for them.
And they may have had someone before that did some sort of position like that, but I'm almost positive that this is the first. This is the first I've seen anything about it. So, anyways, let's move on to a piece of news that you, the jersey connoisseur that in the room right now.
That's not saying much because you're not really a jersey guy. So.
It's just it's not much of a. I don't know. It's not much of a thing for me. I don't, and it's, you know what it mainly is? I don't like the way they feel. I just don't.
Have you actually wore some of, besides mine, that you maybe wore for videos or things like that, have you just wore one around?
I haven't, but I don't know. I'm not real, like I would rather just wear like a t-shirt or some kind of flannel or something like, I don't know.
To each their own.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, for sure.
I like the jerseys, and let's be honest, season ticket member now, 8 or 9 home games a year.
Gotta have a different jersey for every
game. There you go. You can
different jersey. I am a fan of the little wine jersey, though, I will say. I think that's just because I'm partial towards Taylor Lewan, even more than Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill. I think he might be my favorite player on the team.
Now, you know he's probably not listening to our podcast, so you don't have to...
I don't have to be kissing his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, the news. I'll let you go ahead and take it.
Today, the NFL approved alternate helmets for teams wearing throwback uniforms starting in the 2022 season. So this means that we could see the Titans go back to the Oilers helmet and uniforms.
That would be extremely badass, though. I will say, regardless of whether, because you can buy throwback jerseys.
Fans are hoping, or a lot of Titan fans are. I know there's still some out there that are like, hey, don't really like the Oiler uniforms, don't like the helmets, this and that. But there's also probably a greater majority that like the Oilers throwbacks and want to see it. They've been wanting to see Derrick Henry in them, been wanting to see A.J. Brown in them. Obviously now Julio in them. Just all these people in these Oilers throwbacks. I think they would look badass. But there is that chance that the Titans throw it back to the old Titans uniforms with the white helmets, everything else. And I'm just going to say, the Stormtrooper look, might like seeing that white helmet.
Yeah.
With the all whites. You know, just at least one time to see if it actually looks as good as I would hope. And
I will say, in most cases, I do not really care at all about what jerseys they're wearing whenever they're playing, as long as I'm not having to watch a shitty football game. Like, I don't care. But the exception for me, and like we said earlier, to each their own, because occasionally I will say when they're wearing the dark blue, that is just like one of the most pleasing uniforms to look at when they're out there on the field. Like, I like it. I like to look at their uniforms when they're wearing that. But most of the time, I really don't care. But the exception to that is if they come out wearing the Oilers uniforms, because I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the edits that people have done with the Oilers uniforms on either A.J. Brown or Derrick Henry. And man, it's something about it that just looks so good.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to see that. And, you know, Derrick Henry a couple months ago, whenever they changed the rule to where skill players could wear, you know, single-digit numbers and everything, he's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but can we go back to the throwback helmets and uniforms? And now they've come out with this, and he's excited about it.
A lot of strides that the NFL has made this offseason as far as what players can wear, what teams can do, as far as uniforms and different stuff like that on the field. So that's pretty cool. If some people care about that, some people don't.
Now, I will have to say, because you can't find any Oilers jerseys right now with like Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, any of those guys. If they go back to those Oilers uniforms in 2022, may end up, like you said, I like the jersey, may end up having to grab a couple of those just because from seeing the edits, if they look anything like the edits, oh, it's going to be badass.
All right, so another piece of news that I wanted to get to is a certain wide receiver that has hinted at possibly coming to Tennessee. And no, it is not Julio Jones because he's already here.
Everyone is wanting to come to Tennessee now.
Yeah, it's like a new... Okay, so 3 years ago, could you have ever seen any free agent come out, and any blockbuster free agent coming out and saying, I want to go play in Tennessee. I see what they're doing over there, and I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling to have, because we've seen over the years where these bigger name players are like, I want to go here and play. You know, this is one of the destinations that I'm looking at. I'd like to go here and play. And now we get this breath of fresh air where guys are like, hey, I like what they're doing down there in Tennessee. I want to be there. And then we start pulling in some more guys. And you hear other people, I want to be there.
Yeah.
So it's a nice feeling.
Honestly, it's a testament to the fact that the organization is doing things now like hiring a data analyst more than anything.
Or the fact that they're just getting more superstars.
So here's you. That one was way over your head.
I got it. Yeah.
So now the thing to mention is, do we want Golden Tate?
I'm going to let you go first on this.
Do we want Golden Tate? So let me start off by saying, and you can probably tell where I'm going with this by the time I'm done with this little spill. But let me start by saying that Golden Tate has had an exceptional career. Okay, especially the stretch where he was playing for the Detroit Lions. I mean, he had the season where he had 1,300 yards. He had 2 more 1,000-yard seasons to add to that. Several seasons of 4, 5, 6 touchdowns. Even in 2019 with the New York Giants, 676 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's like Corey Davis numbers, basically. I mean,
roughly.
Yeah, you average out Corey Davis's production. That's
pretty close.
Other than the touchdowns, that's roughly about where you're going to be. Last season, not as impressive. Only 2 touchdowns, about 400 yards. With the fact that the Titans just got Julio Jones, and you have AJ Brown, you have Josh Reynolds, and all of those guys can interchange. They can play the slot, which would really be the fascination with having Golden Tate on the team, is the fact that he could come in there and really be that guy in the slot. All these guys can interchange around, move around, really mess with the defense just by being in whatever spot they want to. Then you throw in Dre Fitzpatrick, and any other guys that might emerge as...
Dre Fitzpatrick.
Did I mess up the name?
Des
Fitzpatrick. It's too close. Who is Dre Fitzpatrick? Because I feel like that's also some player.
I feel like he's a corner.
Yeah, he is a corner. And I'm going to pull him up right now because there's a reason I said it. He's a cornerback. So anyways, I messed up on the name there just because I was getting caught up in my thoughts. But that name's extremely close. You can't fault me for that. Like Dre, Des, like that's right there. Anyways, Des Fitzpatrick. Plus, we haven't seen a lot about him necessarily. So
he had a pretty good count.
I was focused on other things at that point. Like Julio Jones was sincerely the only thing that I was like consuming.
Got to pay attention to these other guys.
At that point in time, I did not care. I was literally going to the 9th page of Google with Julio Jones stuff. Like it was nothing but Julio Jones. So anyways, with the fact that you have all of these guys and other wide receivers that could emerge, to me, it doesn't make sense.
So coming into this, I thought we were going to disagree on this. I really did. Because I figured that you were going to be for bringing in Golden Tate. And I want to say this. For me, it is, looking at both sides, it can be very situational. Because say one of our top 3 guys were to go down. Then you look and you're like, man, really wish we would had another veteran receiver that we could plug in, be like our number 3. And Golden Tate could do that. But also looking at it, our wide receiver room is looking really good. Like, I'm happy with it. Julio, AJ Brown, Josh Reynolds, Des Fitzpatrick, even Cam Batson.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I like a lot of these guys that we have in our receiving room. And yes, I understand the importance of having these veteran players. But if you never give the rookies a chance to step up, and like if they have to and make plays,
Cameron Batson,
right? Like if you never give them that chance to step up and prove themselves, how will you ever know if they can do it? Is the way that I look at it.
Exactly.
So while I wouldn't really be against bringing in Golden Tate, why? I don't think we have to. And it would just be another cap hit to us this year.
Well, because if you have a guy that does get banged up and needs to miss a game or two, okay, take the situation with Julio Jones. He is an older guy. There's 17 games this season. He's had some wear and tear. Say he has to miss a stretch of 2 weeks. He's tweaked something, or he's just flat out tired. He's an old man. I mean, not an old man, but he's an older guy. As far as NFL wide receivers go.
There goes any chance of getting Julio on the show.
Didn't necessarily mean to say old man, okay? But I also don't regret my word choices.
It sounds like you do.
Anyways.
You're backpedaling a little bit.
Say he just flat out gets tired and his muscles are fatigued. He just needs to take a game off.
Or even if it's not a game or
Just
2 games.
a quarter.
Just, we'll say, like this past year, A.J. Brown, everything he was going through with his knees, we would see usually his first catch of the game, he would come limping off to the sidelines, and you'd be like, oh no, something, please don't let A.J. be hurt. Couple plays, he'd hop back in, be good to go.
Exactly.
Or it might be the next drive. But you need guys who can step up, whether it's just a couple plays or the rest of that drive, and go out there and make plays for you.
And in that situation, we don't need somebody like Golden Tate. I think that Des Fitzpatrick or Cameron Batson, anybody else that is on the roster can function just fine in that scenario.
Maybe Mason Kinsey.
Maybe Mason Kinsey. I'm a big fan of that as well. There's so many names there towards the bottom of the depth chart at wide receiver that are interesting to me.
I feel like we have a pretty deep wide receiver room. They may not be household names.
Yeah, especially compared to this time last year. Because this time last year, I was jumping and screaming, Taylor Gabriel, get this guy now. But I feel a lot better about it this time around. So, not really that worried about it. And, I think that's that. You don't really need Golden Tate. So, that's my opinion on it.
Again, I thought this was something that we were going to disagree on, but like most things, somehow we end up on the same page.
Well, it's nice to agree every now and then, is it not?
Yeah. Most of the time we do agree on things or have the same thought process. But
I don't know. There's times where I don't always agree with you,
where I question why you want to be so stupid about certain things, but
whatever. It's nice every now and then to be on the same page.
Again, it was a pleasant surprise to come in here when I think that we're going to disagree on.
Because I would hate to have to convince you of why we don't need Golden Tate, because we just don't.
You've already proved that you would backpedal on things.
That's not true at all. That's not. See, this is a situation where you just honestly just need to turn off your mic and let me finish up the show.
Oh, wow.
It's that time for you. But now it's time to talk about something that I didn't even necessarily know was like a take, honestly, until maybe a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. But I think it's something that we bring up and talk about just because of the fact that you actually are almost on the other side of this take from me, and that is whether or not the Titans need to sign another backup quarterback. And I'll let you kind of spill whatever it is you want to say about this. I know where I stand on it. I kind of just am getting a feeling about where you're standing on it. So,
no, I don't know that you do. Because,
well, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Because this is something that I haven't really thought about, and maybe we should have been thinking about it because, it's not guaranteed that you're ever going to have a player make it through the season. Things happen all the time. You look at what happened with our tackles last year, going down, ended up getting the third string. You never know. So we have to really ask ourselves, if Ryan Tannehill were to go down with an injury, do we trust Kaiser or Woodside to be able to lead this team? I'm going to say that, I haven't seen much on either of those guys, but I did hear that, Kaiser's
showing out.
He's been showing out in camp and everything else. So
now I will say,
I would not be against giving him a try. If we're looking at our backup quarterbacks, I would prefer Kaiser over Woodside. Just my opinion.
I will say, have you forgotten punt formation? Logan Woodside to Nick Westbrook-Akeem, or Keena, however you say his last name. First down conversion. The dude is an ice cold killer. That's all. That's really the only argument that needs to be made for Logan Woodside. And he's not even the guy that I think should be the second string quarterback. But that's all that you need to say for him.
I'm not taking anything away from that. That was clutch. Crucial point. But I can also see where other people are coming from and wanting a backup quarterback that's maybe a little bit more established. A guy that if you did have to turn the offense over to him, you can put all of your trust in him that he's still going to be able to run the offense and be efficient.
I'm going to say the reason I haven't necessarily thought about or talked about a backup quarterback is because me personally, now I do see the argument where you're saying, okay, let's look at what Deshaun Kaiser has done. He played one season with the Cleveland Browns where he started 15 games. He threw 22 interceptions. That's not something that we want as the backup quarterback. I will also say he's had a lot of time since then, since 2017, to develop as a quarterback.
Not a lot of playing time.
Not a lot of playing time, but that's not necessarily where the improvement always happens at. So I'm just saying, if he's showing out at camp, maybe that there's an opportunity there for him to be the backup quarterback. If not, you also have an option in Logan Woodside, who I think really is a decent backup. I mean,
but just because, and I've been guilty of doing this as well. Oh, well, they've had a good camp. He had a good camp. Camp is one thing. In-game situation, completely different. We need to know that they can perform.
Okay, I'm going to do what you did earlier, and you know this because of all the NFL teams that you've played on.
No, but
just kidding. I'm just kidding. You know,
see, and that wasn't even what I thought I thought you were going with that. I thought you were going to say, well, how do you know these guys can't do that if you don't give them a chance?
That is also true. You did say that earlier. But anyways, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I think as far as Deshaun Kaiser goes, you can give this guy a chance. If that's not working out, just cut him. Logan Woodside, I think, is going to perfectly fit in as a backup. He knows the system. He's not somebody that you're going to bring in, let him learn it, any of that stuff. I don't see backup quarterback as an issue, but I'm not going to say that anyone is stupid or that it's a bad take if they do think that the Titans need a backup quarterback, because I was in that situation last offseason.
Right, and, I'm willing to sit back. Hopefully everyone's going to the comments and letting us know their take on this. Let us know your opinion and why you think, hey, we do need this. We need a better backup quarterback. Back it up with something. Let us know. Give us your reasoning, because we're willing to listen about it, because honestly, I think either way, we're fine with whatever the Titans decide to do for their backup quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, that's all that I've got to talk about for this episode. I don't know if you got anything else you want to throw in.
I don't think I have anything else. Just, hoping that we get to see those Oilers uniforms in 2022.
That's all that I've got. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the podcast. This has been Titans Time, and as always, Titan up.